had the pleasure of interviewing some amazing map makers. Some people are like cartographers, and others, they make the whole 3D molds. And every time I draw maps, my trees look like penises every single time. I cannot draw a tree that does not look like a penis.
Well, with my maps, whenever I would do my maps hand drawn, they would just look like bushes, because it would just be, or a cloud, because draw them top down and then you just see cloud. That's it. That was all it would be. And I'd say that's a tree, guys.
You didn't ask me to be DM for my art skills. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. Thank y'all so much for listening. I'm really excited about today's guest. It's a really good friend of mine. Thank you for being here, Nico.
It's my pleasure, Natalie. I was really excited when you asked me. I got so giddy.
I've only had you DM for me once, and that was a CyberPunk game.
Yeah.
And that's my only experience I've had with CyberPunk so far, but it was crazy. I am not able to keep a straight face in both you or your brother's games with your voices. So for those who don't know, Nico is Andres' brother from Clash of Quests.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For better or worse.
For better or worse. You don't get to get rid of them.
No, never.
So what games are you currently running?
Right now, I only run CyberPunk. For my weekly D&D group, we have a rotating set of DMs, myself, my friend Peter, and Andres. Peter and Andres run D&D 5e, while I run CyberPunk 2020. And which, it's funny because they have this hardcore fantasy with very great storylines, while mine, in the last session, they had to do an escort mission with a 25-year-old man-child that ended up peeing in the knee wound of Andres' character. Ask him about it later. Trust me, it was hilarious.
I have like calls with Andres every Sunday or Monday so that he can catch me up on whatever happened in y'all's game the previous Sunday. So I like follow along with all of y'all's stories. I'm like, okay, so tell me what happened. How did it go? Every week.
So did he tell you about this past, not his session, but the session with CyberPunk?
Oh yeah. We had like a 2-hour phone call when it was like the whole, when it was the PvP and he shot the other dude.
Oh, Gridlock, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like where my storyline started with y'all. And ever since then, I have had calls with him to keep up because y'all are such great DMs. Your storylines are so good.
The thing is that with Peter and Andres, they have like one overarching story, or they have an overarching story with their stuff. With CyberPunk, though, I'm running it more episodically because I feel that it's easier for me personally to not have to worry about, oh, okay, there's this one big bad evil guy going on. But with CyberPunk, the way I look at it is that no one is a hero. No one is good or bad. Everybody's there to make it out for themselves. And even if you take out the big bad evil guy, one big corporation, there's always going to be 2 or 3 that pop up wherever. So the story really never ends. If you save the world or not, there's always going to be something bad that comes back up, which I really enjoy with that.
So would you consider it more like heavy, or is there still a good bit of comedy in there?
Oh, Natalie. The comedy never stops. It's a decent balance between comedy, action, drama, in my opinion. Like you said, whenever Andres told you about Gridlock and his death, that happened. The thing about this is that with how CyberPunk has been going, the main storylines have been created by the characters. I haven't created them at all. Whenever it came to Gridlock dying, one of the characters dying, that was purely character driven. That was all player driven. I was just the narrator, just watching the whole thing. Whenever they had to break into a big corporation to clear themselves from a database, that was all character driven, which I'm a big fan of. I'm really liking having to not improvise on the fly, but having to improvise, what goes on in the world because of them. It's been really fun.
Since they do more of that, do you feel like you do a lot less prep work?
In a way, yes and no. I tend to have to find more. The hardest part for me, honestly, is just finding maps. That's honestly the hardest part, because I like to keep my characters engaged, and I like theater of the mind, but having a map and something cohesive to kind of look at and to play around with and kind of know your surroundings instead of having to keep track of, okay, well, I know Nico said that there was 3 cameras, but where are those cameras at in relation to me? Do I have to be here, here, here? I just like having something that everyone can see. It seems more simplified in that way. But like I said, the hardest part is just coming up with maps. Everything else, pretty simple.
I've said it once, I'll say it 100 times. I fucking hate maps. It's my least favorite part of all of the RPG system. It's maps. I hate them.
Really?
Yes. Because I draw mine.
Oh, gotcha.
I will eventually learn how to do them on the computer for Roll20, but for now, in my in-person game, I draw them, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing some amazing map makers. Some people are like cartographers, and others, they make the whole 3D molds, and every time I draw maps, my trees look like penises every single time. I cannot draw a tree that does not look like a penis.
Well, with my maps, whenever I would do my maps hand-drawn, they would just look like bushes because it would just be, or a cloud, because draw them top down and then you just see cloud. That's it. That was all it would be. And I'd say that's a tree, guys.
You didn't ask me to be DM for my art skills.
Exactly. Yeah. If you wanted art, then go to somebody else with that kind of skill. I will give you a mediocre story that I improvise on the fly because I forgot that I was DMing today.
Yes, 100%. My Christmas Strahd session last week, we had to take like a month off. Just like everybody had things going on. So I had a month to draw my maps. But when did I draw it? The night before.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Did I even need the map that day? No.
Nope. Definitely not.
I have things prepped like 6 weeks in advance for like one area, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool, but we're gonna go this way." And I'm like, "Okay, great."
Yeah, I hate that. Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate. Never assume with your players. Never ever assume. That's the first thing I learned with, especially with when I first started DMing for Andres and my 2 friends, Brad and Anthony. Never assume, ever. It's the worst thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah, baby DM Natalie is still learning those hard decisions. That's actually why I'm doing all these interviews. It's not for the rest of the internet. It's for me to like catch up on like 8 years of DM experience in a few weeks.
Smart. It's a good way to go about doing it.
I'm really just selfish. That's all that this is.
No, I understand. I'd be doing the same thing as well. Honestly, I just hold them hostage and just force them to tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do.
Exactly.
Magic is still a thing in CyberPunk, right? It just has a really high price.
No, CyberPunk does not have this. One of the systems you might be thinking of is Shadowrun. But CyberPunk, there's no magic. Everything is all based in technology. It's basically... Have you ever seen Altered Carbon on Netflix?
It's such a good show.
Oh, God. First season was amazing. Yes. But, yeah, it's all... Imagine that. That is CyberPunk down to a T.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense then.
It's gritty. It's dark. Everything is all shades of gray. You have stand-up people who are very manipulative, but you also have crime lords who try to do what's best for others, but at the same time, they're ruthless. It's, like I said, there's no such thing as good and evil in this. It's all about how can I survive until the next day.
Okay. So how many RPGs do you play in?
Playing right now, I just play, I run CyberPunk, and I play in Andres's and my friend Peter's games. And that's about it right now. Due to my work schedule, that's all I can really manage at the moment.
Yeah, work can be very restricting when it comes to D&D.
Oh yeah, definitely very, very restricting. But I like finding time for it because it's a good way to just interact with my friends or people that I call friends. It's a great outlet for myself, a good creative outlet. I just love the idea of just building a world with my friends and just narrating a story for their characters to go through. And I just love seeing this. It's a weird sort of emotional catharsis in a way. You're playing a character that's not really you, and you're trying to experience the emotions that they would. And it's a beautiful thing, really.
That was one of my first realizations about why I loved D&D so much, was because like in the real world, you get like one life to learn lessons from.
Yep.
And you get those experiences and that's it. And through D&D and other RPGs, you get all these different characters that you use and you can learn all these different So like some of my characters that I've made have the same insecurities or mental disorders that I have.
Yeah.
So that a way, like it's kind of like using another character to work through those things.
Yeah. No, I agree. But for me, I try not to make characters that are like myself, because I just like to, I want to take myself, I don't know, for me that's for me personally. I like to take myself out of my own skin and just kind of put myself into something that I usually don't do. Like one of my characters is a Triton warlock who is highly addicted to drugs. And he's a total surfer bro, and it's really fun to play that because it's not me. I've also, with the different characters that I've had, I've done manipulative, evil characters. I'm hoping that I don't come off as emotionally manipulative and evil.
The most, always.
Okay. But you know, it's just fun that way. But it's like you said, you get all these chances to experience life through the eyes of these different characters that you create, whether it be for one session or for years in a campaign. It's just something that I really love doing. Honestly, one of the favorite things to do is just create the characters, really, because you get to you put a little bit of something new with it every time. Like not a single one of my characters that I've made has been that carbon copy of the last, and it's been a lot of fun doing. Just getting to be a part of that. It really warms the heart.
I could agree with that. I think my characters that I make, they're more eccentric. Like I take one part of myself and then make it super exaggerated, and then there's this whole thing behind that.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think I'm also still so new to D&D that I'm still in that imitation phase.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of trying, like I take little bits and I try and copy like little bits from all these DMs that I try, and I'm like, oh, this works. Oh, this does not.
Yeah. You just have to take time to find what works for you. That's what I've had to learn. You know, I started watching, the reason I got into D&D was, I started playing when I was 10 or 11 because of my stepdad. He ran us through like the original Dungeons and Dragons, not back in 1978, of course, but he had the original red box monster manual, player's handbook, and everything for AD&D. And he ran us through a few sessions of that. But since I was young, I had a really short attention span, so it was really hard for me to stay focused. So we kind of put that on the back burner. But it wasn't until maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I watched a show on YouTube called Titan's Grave, which was a game run by Will Wheaton and had a few players on it. For those of y'all that are fans of Critical Role, Laura Bailey, and they also had Yuri Lowenthal and Allison Hazlett, I believe. But that was my first foray in seeing live tabletop, run show, and I just fell in love with it. It was just so cool. I was amazed. It just seemed like so much fun. And the minute that show ended, I started writing a game using that same system for Borderlands because I'm a big Borderlands fan. Have you played Borderlands?
No, but I've heard of it.
I love it. It's great. Borderlands 2 is probably my favorite game, one of my favorite games of all time. I love the comedy. I love the writing. I love the art. Beautiful. But I wrote that game and I had a few of my friends come in and play it. And the best feeling was after the first session. We ended the session after they ran a small mission to rescue a guy. And I said, okay, guys, that's the end of the session. And my buddy Brad said, but I want more. It was like little Oliver Twist just going up with his bowl saying, I want some more. And I'm sorry, I don't have any more. We have to wait until whenever the next one is, which was the following week. And we made that a weekly thing. Then we went then after that Borderlands session, Borderlands campaign fell through, we just made a different campaign, and that's how I fell in love with D&D, because at first I did a different system than D&D 5e. I did what's called the Dragon Age RPG system, it was still pretty fun, but then I started watching Critical Role, and I saw D&D 5e, and I loved that system. It seemed really cool. I fell in love with the characters, fell in love with the actors and all the players, and it was just a whole lot of fun. So that was just how I kind of got into it in a more regular, in a more passionate way, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Critical Role is how I learned how to play D&D.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching it when all of my friends decided they wanted to play. So they're like, it was when they were trying to convince me to play, because I was really standoffish about it. I was like, nah, like, it sounds really nerdy. I don't think I'm going to do it. I'll sit it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now it consumes my life.
Oh yeah. Oh, I have a funny story about that. So I actually have two people that I train with that I got into playing D&D with me.
Mm-hmm.
I got my first off. I was talking, so it just happened to come up in conversation. My buddy Jake said, "So Nico, what were you doing this weekend?" And I said, "Oh, I hung out with a few friends and I played Dungeons and Dragons." He's like, "What's that?" And I had to explain that to him. He's just like, "That sounds cool. I want to play." And it didn't take much convincing. It didn't take much convincing at all. And I had him roll up a character, and he ran through a few sessions, and he just loved it. And I got him to play it. And then because of that, we were talking about it at the gym one day, just talking about, so how'd you like the session? Dude, it was so cool. And he had a lot of fun. Now this is the campaign that was run by Andres. So Andres DM'd both on, but him and I. And then Dustin, he heard us talking about that. And he just, wait, are you guys talking about Dungeons and Dragons? Just, yeah, a lot of fun. And one day, Dustin I was talking to Dustin one-on-one. He said, Nico, like, I don't know how you did it, but you got Jake to play it, of all people. I think I need to give this a try. And he made his character, helped him make his character, and I will say that he's probably the most fun. I think I've seen him laugh more during D&D than I have seen him laugh anywhere else for the most part. So it's really cool. I got people who beat the crap out of each other on a near daily basis to come play organized pretend with math.
It's like drugs. Like you just kind of like, like when the dealer's like, your first bump is free.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll just let you in the door.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's just you always, like, once that first session happens and it ends, you just have to ask, so when are we going to do it again? Whose campaign are we going to play? What's going to happen in the next session? What's going on? There's always questions that you have to ask. You always ask. There's always a question you ask, and that's usually the funnest part about DMing or just playing it. Just having these new questions that pop up, whether it be about the next session or just what's going on in the campaign or anything else. It's just so much fun.
It was, so my very first game ever that I played, Dustin played in, and
I am well aware of this.
And it was
aware of it.
Phenomenal because my character was just so chaotic, and I may have gone a little murder hobo in my first game. It was justified for my character.
That's what they all say.
And I had told Andres beforehand, like, this was our goal and it was against everybody else's goal. But yeah, I had like a full-blown panic attack on my way to Andres's house because I was so afraid because I didn't know how to play the game. And I think very highly of both Dustin and Andres, and I was like, I'm gonna ruin the game for everybody because I don't know how to play. And then I got there and they were so okay. I did annoy Dustin pretty heavily because
I know. I was told. I
kept hitting a character with a wand of smiles, and
yeah,
he was not happy with it.
Yeah.
But I think that's just how Dustin and I's relationship works. Like, how annoyed can I make Dustin today?
No, that's about how it is with me and Dustin too. I try to annoy the crap out of him as often as possible, but it's usually in good fun. Well, I like to think so. He tells me otherwise, but that's how it is.
He can't leave you, so it's fine.
No, he has nowhere to go.
So where do you draw your inspiration from?
Man, there's a whole lot. Whether TV shows, anime, movies, books, comics, everyday life, it comes from everywhere, really. If I hear something going on, you have to draw inspiration from everywhere, really. You have to draw it from real life. You have to draw it from just fiction. It's just something that you have to kind of pick up from. Like with CyberPunk, I tend to watch a whole lot of Altered Carbon, a lot, just kind of as white. I've watched it enough to where it kind of functions as white noise for me. It's just there, and I know what's going on. I understand the imagery, and it just helps. It helps kind of set the mood. You know how people listen to lo-fi hip-hop? I listen to Altered Carbon or other futuristic movies.
That's me. I listen to the lo-fi. I'm all about the lo-fi when I'm prepping.
There you go. Exactly. But that's just me. I have a big tendency to find, I used to be all about watching Critical Role or reading. I was at one point reading a whole lot of Patrick. Have you read Patrick Rothfuss? Any of his books?
No.
Oh, and then oh man, you have to look him up. He's got some great books that I think you could draw a lot of inspiration from. Patrick Rothfuss, Roth, R-O-T-H, Fuss, F-U-S-S. He's got some amazing books. I listened to them all, both on audiobook, and they are awesome. They are the King Killer Chronicles. There we go, King Killer Chronicles.
Okay.
So I think you would definitely dig it.
I did a little cloud loop-de-loop around it.
Smart move. Smart.
So then do you feel like it takes good players to make a good game?
That's a very hard question to say, because sometimes you could have just a great game planned and you have amazing players, but things just don't pan out. It's all a collaborative process. This is what TTRPG is about. D&D, CyberPunk, Call of Cthulhu, Pathfinder, Starfinder, Traveler, everything. It's all collaborative. Everybody has to be working together to create a great game. Even if you don't have anything planned for the session, you have to be able to work together. So whether it being for the players, don't interrupt the DM, don't interrupt somebody else who's talking. For the DM, be open-minded, but at the same time, understand that you have to kind of lay down the law sometimes when it comes to the rules. I know some people are big rules lawyers. Some people are more loosey-goosey with it, but you all have to kind of meet in the middle with things, really. It has to be common ground with things. And whenever everybody is on the same page with that, things can be great. Like whenever things happened in my CyberPunk game where one of the PCs killed the other PC, that was all collaborative. I didn't even really have anything planned for that day, but my players did such a great job just creating this story within a 2 to 3 hour time frame that it was probably one of my favorite sessions that I ever played. But there have been times where I've planned things out to a T and things went great, but everything was just a slog, whether it be the rules were just things with the rules we weren't understanding, or there was some tension within the group. It all really depends. But the main thing is just having that cohesion between the players and the DM or GM.
So how do you go around, like, if there's a disagreement on the rules?
I tend to play things fast and loose, but I always have my rules on hand at all times. And we all, for those of us that do have the books, we look through it, find the rule, or find something that seems to be along the guidelines of the rule, and we go with it. Sometimes I've made mistakes in this, and my players, they haven't called me out on it, like, hey, you're wrong, bad job, terrible, I'm out. No, we're very understandable with things. If a rule was not really broken, wasn't followed correctly, we tend to not ignore. We tend to just say, okay, well, going forward, we'll follow things as this. We have a pretty understanding group of people, because in a way, we're all constantly learning. Some of us more experienced, but we're still learning with, even with D&D 5e. I figure out new rules all the time with that just by going back and reading.
Do you have a favorite homebrew item?
Favorite homebrew item? Man, there was one that Andres made that I really liked. Mm-hmm. It's very, very simple. It was an item that was held by our late dragon sorcerer Bracken, Bahamut rest his soul. And it was a small chest about yay big, that he would just snap his fingers and it would pop into existence. And he would open the top and it would just start cursing. It would just start, just as loud as it could, just yelling obscenities, like just saying, wait, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, you're good.
Fucking shit, dude. Shut the fucking door. Just stop it. God damn it, you're letting all the cold air out. And it would just keep cursing the whole time. Now, the thing about it was, that in itself didn't make it my favorite, but what people did with it made it hilarious. There have been points when we use it to create a distraction, like holding it as a boombox, opening it up, and walking up to a front door of where the bad guys are to create a quote-unquote distraction, even though we didn't just holding it open, just walking forward. This is whenever most of our characters were brand new and didn't think things through all the way. So it ended up with a total of 20 casualties, a destroyed front gate, and one of our characters, Null, an elf fighter, who thought that he was invincible, who this is how I like to think about it. He didn't realize he wasn't playing Skyrim, and he got filled with tons of arrows, and he looked like a pincushion afterwards. Did you ever see the Wolverine with Hugh Jackman, the movie The Wolverine? You remember that scene whenever he was in the Japanese town and got filled with arrows?
Yes.
That's what happened.
Oh no. Oh, no.
So, yeah, it's not really because that's my favorite item because of what it does, but what it's led to has made it one of my favorite items.
Oh. I love homebrew items so much. I love asking people what they come up with.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Andres has my favorite homebrew item as well, and it's completely for RP. It's so stupid, but it's just like a thing. His character in a homebrew campaign that I'm making, we haven't actually started yet, but he got his item, and his character's addicted to milk. So this item will fill up a glass of milk, and it has 3 charges. Well, the only way you can get get a charge for it is to commit an act of kindness to a bovine creature. And they don't stack. Like, they do stack, but like you can't return to that same bovine creature until its charge is expended.
Gotcha.
Completely useless, but so beautiful.
I actually just remembered another one that I made for myself, which was honestly just for RP purposes as well. This was for a one shot, a Curse of Strahd one shot I did with a few friends of mine, a different group. A backstory: my character was a paladin rogue who was a professional wrestler before he found God, and his God was Jameson Walker Daniels, the god of good times and bad decisions. So what I made one of the magic items I made it myself, was a bottle. It was a little bottle that anytime you broke it, it became a +1 weapon, +1 finesse weapon that you would just shank people with. But bonus action to fix it back up, and it would have the same type of liquid in there as it had before. So you could be halfway through drinking all of your booze, realize you're about to get into a fight, stab, fight's over, bonus action, now you have your bottle.
Oh my gosh, now I have to ask the nerdiest question to that. Was it finesse or strength?
Oh, finesse, obviously. but he had a 20 strength, so that way he could still get sneak attack. Just had to have that happen. I had to. Yeah.
Why not?
I said he was a rogue. He's a rogue paladin. I want to get sneak attack. That's how it works.
I can imagine my character for Clash of Quests trying to be sneaky. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. She's not going to be sneaky. But she could try. She might try.
I believe in you. I believe in you. I don't believe in your character, but I believe in you.
I should 100% be the other way around.
Okay. All right. Good to know. I'll keep that in mind.
All right, so the last few questions, because I know you have to go to your thing soon. Last few questions are less about Nico, the DM, and more, what kind of laughter is that? My son just saw this crazy egomaniacal laughter from his bedroom. It's ridiculous.
Wait, from Adam? From Adam or from?
No, Lucas.
Oh, he's probably playing Minecraft again.
When he grows up, he wants to be a voice actor.
Oh.
So there are constantly the weirdest sounds coming from his bedroom. His evil laugh creeps me out. It'll be 2:00 in the morning and you just hear this laugh coming from the bedroom and I'm like, you're not asleep. What is happening? It's disturbing. Children can be disturbing.
Oh, I know. I've interacted with him enough. With coaching and being a nanny for like 7+ years, I know plenty about that.
And a math tutor. Yeah, you are experienced with the creepiness children can exude.
It not less creepy, more just evil small people.
They're so manipulative. So last few questions. If you could recommend a book, a movie, and a TV series.
A book series, TV series, and a movie series.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, movie series, easy. I recommend the Cornetto trilogy. Now, what that is, it's 3 movies. It's At World's End, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, all directed by Edgar Wright, starring Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. And those 3 movies are have some of the best writing, are probably some of the funniest movies you'll ever watch, and they just turn all these genres on their head. Hot Fuzz is an action movie, but it's not really a parody. It's all satire, and they're all well written, they're well acted, and they're just so darn funny that I recommend those movies to anybody, literally anybody. Book series. The one I told you about, The Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. Well written. The characters are great. I didn't read them, but I listened to them on audiobook, and the guy who read them did a great job, and that's probably the reason why I'm partial to it. But I recommend that to anyone. It's got fantasy, it's got intrigue, and it's just really fun. It's a really fun story. And as for TV series, I will say the anime Mob Psycho 100. The reason why is because it's action based in a way, but the best parts about it are the little slices of life. You have this little kid who is this powerful psychic and who has these amazing battles with ghosts and other psychics that are beautifully animated. But the best parts are, honestly, one of the best parts is whenever he tries to train for a marathon, or whenever he tries to become the class president. It's because it kind of humanizes everybody, and I love that. And it's got a great message about what you're born with doesn't make you special. And it's the experiences that you create and the relationships that you have with other people that make life worth living. And it's a beautiful anime, not just in how it's animated, but in how it's written, and in the character and the actors and how they perform each character. It's just lovely. I catch myself every point that I cheered up in the first time, I still cheer up at the same exact point the second or third time I watch through. So I recommend that show to anybody. Period.
Perfect. All right. Those are good recommendations. They're different. I like them. I'm going to put that book series on my list because I've started reading books again because I'm literate. I can do it.
I know you can. I believed in you.
Yeah. I stopped reading for so long, and now I've just begun my reading. Oh, man, I don't think I've read since pretty much I got out of high school.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. Yeah, you need to get on that.
Yeah, so now I've got a list so long. I just ordered a trilogy, and yeah, it's great. It's great.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Last question. It's most important. It's most important, and it's where you get all of the judgment.
Okay.
Dirty Dancing or Footloose?
Dirty Dancing or Footloose? That's a tough one. Honestly, I will give my reasoning for it.
Okay.
Footloose. Now, hear me out. The reason why is not because of the movie itself, but because of another movie. Have you ever seen the movie Hot Rod?
No.
Okay. Now, there is a scene in Footloose where you see him smoking a cigarette and punching, and doing gymnastics in a warehouse.
Right.
Now, the movie Hot Rod is a movie starring Andy Samberg, who plays a wannabe stuntman. And at one point, his stepdad says, "You're useless and you'll never amount to anything." And he says, "I hate you." And he runs off into the woods, and he starts to do the same thing. At one point, whenever he's doing flips in the air and stuff, just as Kevin Bacon did, he does a flip and ends up hitting a log. The log makes him trip, and he starts rolling down a hill for about 5 minutes. It shows him rolling down a hill constantly, getting hit by trees and falling off of cliffs, hitting rocks, and just constantly falling and falling. And right, I saw this movie 13, 14 years ago, and it still makes me laugh to this day. So that's why I choose Footloose every time.
You had me at Andy Samberg.
Mm-hmm.
That man is a treasure, and that would be one of my top I want to play a one-shot with that man.
Oh dear God, I think he'd be great.
Amazing. It would be so. And if he doesn't play a bard, he's not allowed.
No, definitely not. Unless he's I don't know. I would definitely be okay with him playing a barbarian. I'd be okay with that. That'd be
Barbarian.
Barbarian.
Okay, that would be acceptable. I would accept that. Barbarian.
Okay, good.
Would be all right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, of course. It was my pleasure. I had a blast.
For those of you guys that don't know, Nico is a top-notch martial artist. Amazing. Where can people find some of your videos and stuff at?
YouTube. Just type in my name, Nico Echeverry, MMA. You'll find plenty of fights. I've had 11 pro fights. I'm 8-3. We're looking to see if we can take things to the next level, because I've been fighting mostly locally for the past since 2011, 2010 really, so past 10 years. So I've been doing this for a while, but I love doing it. Outside of D&D and other RPGs, this is my number one thing. When I say work, this is my work. This is what I do for a living: coaching, training, and helping run a gym. I love doing this.
I get to train with Nico when we're not in the middle of a pandemic.
Of course.
I'm extroverted, and I'm home alone with a 6-year-old all the time. Get me out. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening in. Don't forget, you can watch Clash of Quests every Saturday at twitch.tv/clashofquests. And have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
And don't forget, Nat 1s are just as fun as Nat 20s.